Sounds great.
Hi, Kevin. This is Ivory. Know you from before. You were mentioning to me that you have a startup that helps different companies with their automation. How's about you tell me a little bit about your company, the name, who you work with right now?
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm the founder of a company called Creative Outflow. We work with startup founders to help them either get to seed stage, so creating the decks, creating the outlines that they need to get an initial team and take that to investors. We also work with seed funded founders as they take that initial money and start their first steps. So making sure that they have the operations systems to make sure everyone's aligned, and then tying in various business systems and custom tailored automation so that everything works smoothly. So we're very people focused. The idea is that we don't want to just make a technical system and then say, figure it out, which is what I see from a lot of agencies. My interest is let's create a system that's not as fancy and complicated as it can possibly be, but quite the opposite, as simple as it can be to still be effective, and then train the teams in how to use those. So the idea is that they have that core system, that core functionality right from the get-go, because I see a lot of startups, they start up in kind of a very bare bones way, which is great because they don't necessarily understand how easy it is to get corporate systems up these days. You know, you can go online, stick in your credit card, and 10 minutes later, you've got an email system, cloud storage, internal chats. So helping companies get
touching on that, I read a great article on HubSpot on creating a Frankenspot, which is basically using all these different tools to try and match the same sort of automation that HubSpot could give you. And you're mentioning sort of bare bones, because in the very beginning as a startup, you got limited resources, and there's money you need for advertising, there's money you need for people, and then there's money you need for all these different types of software. In my business, when I work with clients, I make a Frankenspot version of the automation that they're going to use, and then using programs like Integromat, for example. And then I progress into, when we figured out their sales system, we need to build out the automation to go with everything that our sales reps are doing. We'll start to use things like Zapier and Keep, start putting money into the program. So I definitely can relate to that. Now, you reached out earlier because you wanted to have a conversation about sales. What was it specifically that you were looking to learn about?
Yeah, so far we've gotten most of our clients organically. Some of them are startups I've used to work for. Some of them are old freelance clients I've kind of dragged into my new agency model, and then through referrals. So we don't really have any sort of outreach or inbound or even outbound sales at this point. So before I get into that, I wanted to get your advice, because I know it's your specialty, how you would approach that from the start, because I know a lot of people will just kind of start going and then they'll question if they're going in the right way. But I love to speak to people in my network who've done it, so that I'm at least heading in the right direction from the start.
So let's start off with this quick question. I want you to give me an elevator pitch on what you're going to offer. If you were to knock on someone's door, what would be that elevator pitch? And it should really be 2 sentences long. So let's start with that.
That's a tough one. I think it would be something along the lines of, we help companies develop workflows for their digital systems and help them set up that initial tech stack to get them going.
Okay. Now, the reason why I asked that question is because I believe that you shouldn't ever have to really sell. What you have to offer should sell itself. And if you're coming into the market in the right way, you're first to market, you get to leverage things like purple cow. Purple cow is this phrase by Seth Godin that, imagine you're driving down the road and you see nothing but black and white cows. You really wouldn't care. You wouldn't stop. You just keep driving on through. But if you saw a purple cow, you would stop. You get out of your car, you start taking pictures, you'd be texting everyone, telling them about this purple cow. And so your elevator pitch has to be that purple cow. And when I get on the phone and I'm having a sales call with this person on the other end that doesn't really care what I have to say, they just want to get off the phone, and I can pop off that purple cow elevator pitch, they start listening and they get curious. At the end of the day, the purple cow, the cool thing is if you were to knock on someone's door and go, I think this sort of idea of a pitch would be more towards an older demographic that aren't in tech, that don't necessarily understand everything that you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
would be, hey, how would you, I just have a quick question for you. How would you feel if I was able to save you thousands of dollars by getting robots to do the bulk of the lifting for you?
Mm-hmm. It's the
That's,
same thing, but much cooler.
but the reason why it's a challenge in asking that question to tech startups is because they're going to understand everything that you're saying to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a different pitch that I think you would bring to them. The pitch that you'd bring to them would be a little bit more logical. It would be like, I can, for an affordable price, be able to build out automation and workflows for all your systems. You as an owner, you know, you might not have all the time. It's a lot of work to build automation. Even if you don't know how to, the fact is a lot of these people you're talking to, I think that some of them could definitely do everything that you're doing. The reason why they want to hire you is because you're going to go and fulfill that work for them, because their hands are tied as a founder with experimenting in their own business when it comes to ideas of lean startup, as well as just building out different parts of it. So they really need help. I think that if you were to knock on their door and they understand how to do a lot of the work that you're doing, I give them some sort of irresistible offer that gets them to join. Maybe it's a small little project that helps free up their time a little bit for a lower price that segues into a much bigger price. But if I was in your shoes, and personally, where I think that it's going to be easier to get more clients and for a lot more money, and where they really heavily rely on you, is businesses that don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about Joe Blow in his 50s that 20 years ago started a furniture selling business online, or is selling in store and has progressed in the online and lacks resources, so on and so forth. I'd have to sit down and think about different types of segments to go after. But what I do know is that in that case, you're knocking on the door and you're going, hey, how would you feel if I was able to save you thousands of dollars of work by getting robots to do the bulk of it? And you go, oh, that sounds really cool. Can you tell me about some of your online processes and workflows that you're dealing with? Like, what sort of things do you have to do? Are you doing a lot of copy and pasting stuff from Excel sheets into another Excel sheet, or plugging information into online? I mean, just in what I do, a lot of my clients have Shopify. And when we go to send samples back in the day, I'd have to go and create an account in Shopify, and then I have to create the order and then add the products and then hit that. Now, you know, with automation, I can just get them to say yes and put their information in an Excel sheet, and it triggers, fires off everything else. That's honestly the question. I would take those two approaches, and I'd keep approaching those tech people that you're already reaching out to, and I would also play with another segment. Just because you can get a client doesn't mean that that is the right client. I helped launch and manage a Pilates studio, and it was really easy to sell to women 25 to 35. Like, it was like candy. Sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here. But they churned out in 3 months. The people that were the hardest to sell were the skeptical 50-year-olds. But if we signed them up, they stayed for a year or life, or they became brand champions. And the reality is that these tech startups, there could be a time that they don't necessarily need your services as much. But these other people, the ones that don't understand initially what you're talking about, they're going to need you for life. And if you're already working with building automation for these other companies, I think there's a whole other list of upsells of different things that you could provide these same people. So that's my thought on that. I can go on tangents. Remind me your original question one more time.
I'm happy to hear the tangents. I mean, you're totally hitting it. It's just how do we structure our lead gen? Who should we be going after? You're hitting the nail on the head. So please keep going.
The first thing that I talked about was the pitch. This is product message match, product message market match. You know, designing your product, creating the right message for the right market. So your product between those two markets, those two segments are the same. The difference is in messaging. Your conveying it to the tech people that, hey, I can help you get this stuff done faster so I can free up your time. I might be able to give you an affordable price. And these other people, the message is, hey, what if I get robots to do your work for you? How cool is that?
Totally.
In that market, there's a whole different set of different types of businesses that you could honestly go after. I think that new businesses that are on Amazon that are transitioning into their own business to consumer marketing with their own website and all that stuff. And that's a segment you could go after. There's a ton of Facebook groups on Amazon they could jump into the conversation with. In all honesty, what I think I would do is, it's really like, you have to figure out what is the perfect business to go after. Then you can start trying to come up with channels to grab that. What I would do is I'd create a list of Facebook groups that for Amazon and just business in general. And what I would do is start jumping into the conversations. I doubt there's going to be much about automation. One of the things that I think you could post is like really cool how-to-dos. Something like really stupidly cool. I wouldn't give away the automation sequences that you're going to create for their business, but I'd come up with something stupid, ridiculous, and like, hey, I create automation. I can get robots to do the heavy lifting. If you're paying someone 15, the minimum wage is going up in Canada, especially in BC. You know, instead of paying $15, why don't you spend $1? Look at this. Like, there's still people that are manually handpicking leads.
I'm always amazed. It blows my
Phantom
mind.
Buster to grab and scrape all of Google Maps and all this stuff. I'm actually launching a YouTube channel, and this tactic that I'm giving you is very similar, except for I'm just posting videos on sales stuff. But you can post something stupidly cool, like, for example, you could talk to your computer and it automatically adds someone into Shopify, or like does something stupid like that.
That's true. I can actually I know how to do custom Google Assistant commands.
It doesn't need to be
that kind of thing.
It really useful. It needs to be just something like, wow, you can do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And another thing that you could do in these groups is you could think about what's some really stupidly simple and quick automation process that I could just hand away like candy. And what I would do is find someone that you can pay $5 to $10 an hour or whatever, and map out what would be the price of giving away this stupidly easy automation. And I only you could think of that, but my point being is, if you can go post in hundreds of Facebook groups, this really cool thing that you can do. Or you could even actually make a video of that really cool thing that you're giving away and just ask people, hey, you want me to build this out for you for free? And then I would have a link to like a landing page for them to, with a video of all the different types of services that you can do, and have them fill out. Like, you're going to want to qualify your leads. So you're going to want to know what type of business they're in, what they're selling, and all that kind of stuff. Potentially, you know, how much money they're spending on certain processes or whatever. And then now you're getting these people that are talking to you, and you're giving them this automation, and it's providing value, potentially actually saving them money. I mean, the coolest thing that you could ever do was give away this thing that doesn't take much effort on your part or cost, that saves them $500 a month. That's $500 towards what you want to charge them for your service.
Totally.
So on and so forth.
Well, and if I can do that for them for free, it just opens up the question, well, what can I possibly do for them if they pay me? Yes.
You need to think deeply about all the different things that you could charge money for. They'll make you more money, and then give away this stupidly simple thing that doesn't take much effort on your end. And now you're getting that conversation going. So we were talking about product and message and market match. Now what we're talking about is the giveaway, the lead magnet, the thing that's going to get you into the system of them talking. So like, if you were to just pick up the phone and start calling random businesses, for example, I can talk a little bit more about those tech other people. You're going to have to find directories and create automation on LinkedIn to find some way to get them into your funnel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk about this other market because it interests me more. It's more purple cow. The conversation's easy. I think it's creating a system that naturally just your product sells itself. It's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to point them to that landing page and get them started. So when you know what your message is, like, hey, I can get robots to do the bulk of the work for you. Look at this really cool thing that I want to build for you for free. So redeem it, apply it this landing page. Now it's about distribution of that message.
Mm-hmm.
How I like to imagine the message, if you know it's right, is that you could go stand on the side of a corner, like in 10 minutes from now, go stand in front of a tech office or in front of a startup meeting or whatever, and just start shouting the same thing over and over. I can get robots to do that over and over. And people are like, oh, really, really, really awesome. Here's my card. Hit that QR code. It's going to go to my landing page, fill out my form, and I will get you into my workflow to do this. And if you implement this, it's going to save you X amount of money. You're going to start asking them questions like what this process would cost them normally. How much did it save if you just got robots to do it for them? If you can do that inside of a corner, you can do that anywhere. You can do that on Facebook, in those groups. Just fucking post in like 200, 300 Facebook groups that message and that post. You can run ads against these people. You can run ads against those Facebook groups, whatever groups are working. You can pick a list of businesses using if you can figure out a good category of business, you can pop that into Google Maps and script the list of those Google Maps. Just get on the phone and say, here's on there, boom, 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 boom. Point being is if that message works, that they redeem that free thing and you can convert them to a client, then it's just about how can you go and share this as much as possible to the right people. And everything just falls into place. In this way of positioning it, you don't have to do cheesy sales tactics. You're sharing what you can do and you're inspiring them to want to do business with you. You shouldn't have to hardcore convince people. They just got this automation that saved them $500. They tell you about all these other things and you go, wow, you're spending 10 grand on that. You're spending 20 grand on that a year. Perfect. I'll do it for 10 grand for you. And not only are you going to save 50% of what you are spending on that in the first year, the next year it's completely free for them. In all honesty, in the right conversation, if someone's spending 10 grand on this process per year, ask them for 10 grand for it, because the next year and the next year they're not paying anything. In the first 3 years, you save them 20 grand by putting into 10 grand into it. And that's why you need to have a list of all the different things that you could possibly do. And then you just need to get in front of them and give them this small little thing that saves them a little bit of money, just to show them that you really can save them money. Then it's a no-brainer. Anyone that says no to you is stupid, or they just don't have the money. And if they go, I don't have the money, you go, why don't you have the money? Okay, well, you're going to have money in a year from now if you invest in my process. And so this is my whole philosophy around selling, is that it should be emotional in the very beginning. It's that elevator pitch that you're giving, and then it should transition to logical, like why you really need to work with me. And if they say no, they're just not worth your time.
Yeah.
But most often or not, it should be your product and your service should sell itself.
No, that definitely makes sense. Wow, you've given me a lot to think about. This is fantastic. You give me a whole list of where I can get leads. I can definitely build out some of these systems you're talking about. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I do. So this is great. This is exactly the kind of framework I needed to have some direction.
Absolutely. I would focus on that landing page and that automation that you're going to give away in your message, and then just go test it out on people. I think the next conversation to have here is what types of businesses do people have. I think that anyone transitioning to online from Amazon is a good place to start. I mean, even if someone knows a fair bit about online marketing and websites and all that stuff, there's a chance that they still might not know about automation. What's another type?
I think brands that haven't transitioned online is definitely a good one. If somebody has a successful local retail space, helping them branch into an online space is a pretty easy sell, because it's just a matter of, hey, I'm just going to create a new market for you, completely separate from the existing money you're making.
Yeah, that one's hard because sales isn't going to jumpstart just like that when they go online.
No, of course.
Build out. Whereas people that are online, they're using all the tools. They're in the space. They can use the automation. Some of them are even hiring VAs for $3 an hour, $5 an hour to do their work for them, and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of different work and operations that needs to get done with Excel sheets and different programs that they're going to plug and run reports on. I think that there's a whole lot of work that you could do for them around that space. I'm trying to think of other segments that you could try. Anyone that started an online business in the early 2000s is another one. Like, they're in that online world, but there's a good chance that they might lack these new skill sets. I think honestly, what you want to do is you can test those segments out. I would do the Facebook group thing. I'd possibly run general ads and just take a look at who's coming to you. Eventually,
who's clicking,
you're not only going to know who's coming to you, you're going to know who's going to convert, and then you're going to know who's going to stay with you longer. And yeah, I think that's what I can. Do you have other questions?
No, you've totally hit the nail on the head. Unless there's anything specific that comes to mind, I think that's answered all my questions and more.
Perfect. Okay, I'm just gonna pause the recording. Thank you very much for talking with me, Kevin. And
yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and your info.
If you ever want any more advice or you have questions, you can email me at ivory@actionpotentialsales.com. So thank you very
Excellent.
much.